Yes, indeed. This podcast, I don't even want to call it a podcast. It's just me talking. Yeah, man. 37 miles. And a little bit more depending on how this thing play out. But, you know what I mean? I was thinking about the term, reset. And, a lot of people, if you follow astrology, and, in December, people were mentioning the conjunction that was taking place. And they were preparing based off that event. What next to do with their lives. And they said, this is going to be a great time of being able to manifest things. And, it's beautiful. Like, we're in a different year. It feels so different with the same elements around us. It just feels like we're in a different phase of life. I was thinking about, the word reset. Everybody's like, it's a reset. They're treating it as such. And I thought about, what a reset is. Not in a good way or in a bad way, but, just being able to, wipe the slate clean. And you know what I thought about? I thought about when you reset a system to its factory settings. And it's like all the tools are still there. Everything is still there. But now you have much more space to operate with, to work with. Things that you wanted to do that maybe you think you didn't have the space for. In earlier times, now that you have done, a reset or doing one, and just in concept, now you have the ability or the availability to get it done. And it's a wonderful thing. It really is. It's a great thing. I think it follows the flow of life, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the holding on tos and the letting goes. That rhymed. But yeah. And so I felt like, even with the term, I thought about the years that passed and, how we've clinged on to so much. So much from the past 20 plus years, even. And for a lot more other people, it's been much longer than that. 20 years and some change. 30 years and some change. 40 years and some change. And now, it just feels like we've been given a chance to explore the spaces that we wanted to, but with more space and with less clutter. We talk about a reset. The hardware stays the same. Same build, different day. But I think it's the balance in between, the physical staying the same, or nothing new under the physical, and the different experiences that we have every day, every hour, minute, second, nanosecond, and further into that. is what makes the uniqueness of it. It's a harmony, you know. It's a certain dance that happens. Not saying that the, you know, like the physical doesn't take different shapes. It does, but it's just like, you know, ain't nothing new under the sun, you know. And although we may, as we dive deeper and we explore, you know, like different modes, concepts, or different places, different ideas, we'll find, like, you know, more ways those things can be arranged, and more ways to arrange things, you know, from, I want to say, original thought. And that even too, you know, in the stream of thought, when people's like, you know, keep it original. Keep it original. Or origin out. The origin. Keep it like it's from the origin. Keep it, you know, allow it to come from source. Keep it sourceful. And when you add the source, you know, there's so many lesser loopholes you gotta go through, and more pathways that you have to chart yourself. You know, sometimes. Other times is, you know, maybe things just lay themselves out, and all you gotta do is just fill the position. I feel like there are different ways to achieve originality, but it all starts with the origin. You know, it all starts original. What is an origin? A starting point. Or a place where something began. Keep it at the place where it began. I don't know. I feel like people can apply that many ways. If you keep it at a place something begins at. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to stay there, but I think, you know, I think you got to start there and you got to end there. I think I just hit a butterfly. Rest in peace, butterfly, if I hit you. But, you know, I've been thinking about a lot how, you know, we go out into the world and we pick up all these new things, and, you know, these forms and these structures and these ideas, but it's not necessarily about those things. It's about how we interpret them. And because the interpretation is the place where those things are able to move or animate or have those forms and structures and concepts come to life. Like how people say, you know, oh, like this the face of the company, or this the face of, you know. And then you have the hand. But it all works out, you know. When they complement each other, it comes cool. But, you know, I like, you know, the idea of going out, venturing out, and then when you have all these things incorporated, when you remember yourself, while remembering yourself, or even the process of remembering, it shows a journey, because the journey always starts with you. It always starts with you. You can move somewhere physically, but in order for something to move on the external, it's got to move internally. As above, so below. As within, so without. And if you want to get real deep with it, I probably might have said this in the other drop, in the other recording that I made, maybe about a few days back. Even so, if something appears to be moving, it's not moving things around it. I mean, it can, but more so, it's just energy moving through things. That's all it is. That's how you measure motion. That's what motion is, the measurement of energy. How much energy is flowing through something. You know, they tell you in science when the wind blows and the grass is moving. The grass is not moving. It's the energy that's moving through the grass. And so when you understand, you know, how energy works, and you understand how what is movement, and the certain energies you need to be around in order to do certain things, you can't lose. You can't lose. You know, it's all connected. It's all connected. You know, you think about the charges, the electrical charges. If it's positive energy or if it's negative energy. You know, people call it good and bad. I call it addition and subtraction sometimes, but you know, I don't limit it. Ain't no limit. Ain't no limit at all. Man, that's all it is. But you know, I think life is about the things that we take on and the things we subtract. I think it's about our ability to take on and let go. It's just our measurement. I don't want to say it's just. It could be way more. It's whatever you think it is. But, you know, in a way, I think it's about adjustment. How many or how much adjustment are you willing to make to get something done, if any at all? If you feel like you got to make something. And maybe that's the adjustment within itself. The adjustment of the non-adjustment, or the non-adjustment in a form as an adjustment. Because even making no choice is a choice. So just remember, I ain't doing nothing but talking though. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. And I think, you know, with resets, you know, it takes away the old version going back, you know. It's a neutral adjustment, what a reset is. It's a neutral adjustment. It can be. But I think objectively, you know, it doesn't see good or bad. It wipes everything off the field. That's a morbid way to put it, but you know, cleans the slate regardless of where anything is at, and that's okay. That's okay. I think we go through a reset every time a day is finished. A day passes, a night passes. It's a new day. It's a reset. You know, so, and I think we just seeing it on a bigger scale, you know, in terms of astrology even. And that's okay. You just got to make sure that you're doing what's right for you. You gotta see what's best for you, what's most accurate for you. One thing that I think is so, I've been thinking about lately in terms of that is, how much, going back to it, I guess like the art of subtraction, right? And it's like, at the end of our life cycles is a reset, in a way. I think it's a transference of something, a transference of consciousness, because energy never dies. But, we go out the same way we came in, with nothing. That's all we have is nothing. That's what we start off with. And I think it, when a person is able to see how valuable nothing is, how valuable the concept of no or non or nothing, they're able to move through life a bit easier. Because, sometimes we get caught in the act of saying like it's about something. It's about something. And sometimes we like to let that something take more space in our lives than it's supposed to. I don't even want to say it's supposed to, because you can hold something for your whole life, but once you're gone, it's gone. It disappears when you do. And that's what I think it's all about, interpretation. There's so many different interpretations, but and I think that's why so many people try to hold on to things once people pass from this earth, because it's like, okay, maybe you didn't necessarily agree with it, or maybe it didn't suit you, but because the circumstances now changed, and now it's the nothing, now nothing has come back into the picture, or something has been subtracted. It's a reminder of the nature of this life. It's just, the subtraction is a part of life. It's a circle, it's a cycle. Don't get too discouraged. Don't get discouraged at all. That's why in certain meditative practices they say don't have an expectation. It's not because you're going to be disappointed, but it's like if you're always looking for something, before it's time for that thing to come, you're gonna displace yourself, and then you have to go through the process of coming back into yourself. But when you do, and you recognize that's about the same time, the thing that you asked for, you requested from the universe, shows up. It's good to focus. It's also good to let things flow. And I think the way of balance is just being able to know when to do each. Detachment, Detachment is only an emphasis when you have a problem letting go, when you like to hold on to things. It's just all about the balance at the end of the day, because everything has to balance. And in a way, if you can't get it to balance at neutral, wherever you are, you're going to see the opposite. It's like the laws of motion. Every action got a reaction. It's got an equal and opposite reaction. You know what I mean? If you far away out on the left wing and you do something, it's going to affect the right wing. But you might not feel it until you get to that right wing. You feel me? Or the change might be distributed, you know, throughout where you are. Either or, you know, just ideas, interpretations. You got your own mind. It's just what's coming from mine. You feel me? But you know what I mean. It's just the nature. It's just the nature of how it works. It's just the nature of how it works. So don't be discouraged at all. Be excited. Look forward to it. I wouldn't even say don't even look forward to it. Don't expect anything. Just let it happen and observe and just watch. I think, you know, we get upset at some people and some things is because we expect, you know, something. But no, you know, don't have a hold on it. Just let it be. And if you want something to happen, just plant the seed for it to grow. Plant the seed and give it what it needs. You know what I mean? Some things, sometimes we just place our energy into the wrong things. Or maybe, you know, we forget that no matter how frustrated we get or how angry we get, we still have to give what it takes to do whatever condition or thing needs. It doesn't take away, you know what I mean? You can be mad all you want. It doesn't change it. You still gotta, you know. You can have every reason in the world. You still gotta do the work. You may be able to hold out for a while. Yeah, of course. You know what I'm saying? People may feel for you, and you know, they may contribute. But it's like after a minute, if you're not building that to give a condition what it needs, it's gonna be the same thing over and over. Then you're just stuck in a loop in a process. You know what I mean? It's like they tell you to hit the button. If you playing the game, you gotta hit the button. You gotta hit the button. And you know, the game is saying this. You know, regardless of what, you know, other folk are saying, but the game is saying this. The game gonna tell you. The game is going to tell you how to play it. That's all it can do. You know what I mean? All you have to do is spend time with the game and observe the game, and you listen to it. Or you know, some Matrix. No, it's just in general. If you want to call it that, yeah. But because, you know, you already have an expectation or you already have a certain mind frame about it or a mindset, you can have anything. If you don't have enough room or space to understand something, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to tire yourself out. And that's the lesson. The lesson is always going to be just sit back and observe. That's the nature of the universe, observation. Everybody's like, what's the meaning of life? What's the meaning of life? It's just observation. To me, you know. Everybody's like, I'm living life. To me, that's a form of observing. I'm not saying that you gotta sit still all the time, but I'm saying, like, you know, you just gotta watch it. You just gotta watch it. If you're a more sensible person, you gotta feel it. You know what I'm saying? Watch, feel, any way that you can observe through your senses. But the senses aren't the stopping point, you know. It's what you do with that information. And then you're able to form a new observation when you apply something new. The observation stays the same, the variables just change. So don't get mad, don't get upset. You know what I mean? Don't give somebody your energy. Because if you think about it, even when you think you're talking to somebody, or even when you're speaking to people, to others, you're speaking to yourself as well. Your body hears you, your mind hears you. You hear yourself internally. Find that out when you realize a mode of thinking ain't helping, or an approach ain't helping. You know what I mean? You see that after the change up, after you have adjusted yourself to get in tune with that. However, whichever way. This thing's still going. Yep. 26 minutes in, bro. I love this. As you can hear, I got a little background music with me this time. I should have put some background music in the last one. But, man, it is what it is. I just kind of like the silence of the voice. You could do whatever. You could add the music shit. I'm going to just give you the voice. I'll do that for you. I had a great friend of mine. We were in conversation, and he brought up how YouTubers produce their content. It's like although they're slating their content and they're presenting it as if they're presenting it in front of people, they're really just talking to themselves. Really just talking to ourselves. I'm talking to myself right now. This is for me. I'm just hoping that, somebody is able to take from this. And I feel like, you observe, you listen long enough, yeah. That's all. And I think the people who, I'm going to say this. I think the people who attract the most belief are the people who know that, who are aware that, that doesn't change. You know what I mean? It's always a conversation between you and yourself before it's you and somebody else. That's the first gate. I don't even want to call it a barrier. You know what I mean? That's the first gate. The second gate, then it goes out into the external. Because that's the medium we're using. We're using a medium outside of ourselves. Think about it. We inflict the words that we say. We inflict sounds. But until it leaves our mouth, until it leaves the form of our internal self, vocal cords, windpipes, tongue, jaw movement, it's only a collection of motion and sound. And to take it even further, or to put it more in the base, at its base, sound is a form of motion. Sound is just a measure of motion in a different medium. It's just motion. I think these are two key elements, you know, that I can say I have to work on, or that I've, you know, that I think I have to keep in mind sometimes when I want to do something. Is motion, being aware of how motion works, and being aware, like I said before in the last drop, in the last release, timing. When you got those two down, you're just able to make shit come together. And I'll put it more at a base after that. It's after you realize low key, high key, shit, all key. They're one and the same. It's all the same. It's the same thing. They're just in different mediums. But we get that by observing. You know what I'm saying? And so when we're able to observe, and this is the thing too. When I say observe, I don't mean just watch externally. You also have to monitor what's going in. You know, it's the input output. Like you monitor the motion, but you also monitor the motion within. Like, you know, as I was trying to refer to earlier. And that could be done with feeling. You know what I mean? Monitor your thoughts. You know, sometimes we don't necessarily externalize our thought through language. Sometimes we externalize them through action. But not everybody interprets action the same. You know. So if you do one thing, you might be doing cool by you and you think you're doing right and it's okay. But to somebody, you know, it might present itself as a problem. And vice versa. You know what I mean? But it expands as you share your observations. To me, science is the nature of life. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it's the nature of life. But I think science is the nature of the human life experience. When I was in science, when I was in school, I didn't feel like I was taking an actual class. You know? It just felt like I was putting things together. And like, oh, okay, cool. And then when I thought about it, oh, that's a helicopter. When I thought about it, I thought about my other classes. It's the same thing. They just all replicate a life experience. They're all just different versions of the life experience. You know, and I thought about it. I feel like when I got more of an understanding of myself and just how different things work, those classes became easier for me. You know what I mean? And it's just like the things I had problems with or that I was afraid to approach, like it just clicked. And I was scared because I'm like, how is that possible? But this is what I realized. As above, so below, right? You know what I mean? The more that you get in understanding of the self, the easier it's going to be to understand the external. That's why self-work is so important. You know what I mean? And there are different ways to, you know, do it. You just got to do your due diligence and find what's best for you. But, you know, it's all about, you know, plugging in. It's all about plugging in, man. And don't get into arguments, you know what I'm saying? I mean, get into arguments and you find out why you shouldn't. Yeah, man. It's not about which one's better. That's up to you. You know what I mean? That's up to you. Which one's better than the other? No, it's just which one works the most in a certain context. That's all. Because some people like to say, you know, which one does more for the human body, the eye or the hand. It's like, oh, okay. Some people will argue the hand because it's able to work, it's able to make things. But would it be able to do the things at a capacity with somebody who had both eyes and hands? But what if they had no eyes? With the hand would work differently. That's even in itself a different interpretation. Or if somebody, you know, didn't have use of their hands, but they had their eyes, you know, who's to say that, you know, their experience is any more or less of a person who does have those things, or who's caught in that previous example. So me, I don't think anything is really supposed to be pitted against. You know what I mean? Yeah, sometimes it's cool. You have that freedom to, but you know, only what works best in the context. But if everything's present and everything's existing simultaneously, and if we take that for what it is and we observe it, and we know that works in that way, because nature has allowed it, because the universe has allowed it, because it's in front of you, because it exists in that form, in that way, just simply by seeing or feeling or sensing, then we could just take it for what it is. You know, before we do anything else, we have to accept. These people be going hard. Let me get out their way. Alright. You know what I mean? I think that's the first step. Sometimes we get frustrated because, you know, it's just about knowing when or what. Or sometimes we think we know what's going on, but then we ignore the nature of the instance, or we ignore the nature of the makeup of the things involved and how they interact. And instead of saying, okay, you know, we're going to look at how they operate first, and see how it play out. We're just going to jump right into it. Implicitly, you agreeing when you just jump right into something. You're agreeing that, you know, you observe it in that manner. You can't get mad at nothing if it don't work out the way you want it to work out, or if it work out, you know, differently than what you thought, or if it don't work, you know, how you thought. You can't get mad because you put yourself in that position to experience it like that. It's nobody else's fault, and that's okay. Just readjust. You know what I mean? You know, it's important to feel, but it's also important to keep in alignment with the things that we want to do, because we know they're going to bring us to a higher self. We're going to bring us to a higher room of thought. They're going to help us align better with the intent that we're supposed to be aligned with. If not in a smooth way or rough way, but you'll get there. You'll get there. Oh, goodness. This thing. Oh yeah. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean, family? That's it. You just gotta be patient. You just gotta be patient. and be open to learn. You know what I mean? Because even when you think you know everything, there's something new to learn. There's always something new to learn. You learn something new every day. Life shows how it can move every different day. You know, for people who didn't catch that lesson, you know, before these past 2 years, they shortcut it. You know what I mean? People thought, oh, you know, this is same old. And look what happened. Something new, something unique happened. And now you're seeing people move how they never moved before. You know what I mean? But don't get mad at it. You know, that's okay. If it goes how, you know, if this is going how you want it to go, just be thankful. If it don't, just be thankful. Be thankful because now you have a reference point. I'm not saying, you know, I'm saying be thankful because it's happening. But I'm also saying, you know, being thankful for it is just acknowledging where you are and where you're at and just being okay with it. And that's the first step to change. You have to acknowledge what's there. You know what I mean? Well, whenever you go to Anonymous and they do the 12-step program, that's one of the first steps, admitting that you have the problem. Alcohol Anonymous, Drugs Anonymous, whatever. Any type of those, you know, rehabilitation groups. That's their focus. It's not anything unique to them. If anything, they're drawing from a system or a structure that already understands and appreciates the true nature of the life experience. But no, sometimes, you know, we'll accept something and we'll say it's final instead of just saying, okay, it's like this, but we want to change it. And it's like, you know, the game ain't over till it's over. So in all the time that you have, there's most definitely a way to do what you want to do or do what you feel like you need to do. But I'm saying that's up to you, and you just have to be okay with what you have. And that is the first change. It's crazy. The first, I would say, in anything, if you want to change something, or if you want more of something, the first thing you got to do, or if you want less of something, the first thing you got to do is just realize what you want. And I think in that way, it creates a point of reference. You know, it shows conscience. And then you proceed as according. But just be thankful. Be thankful because you have it. Be thankful. Because there's always a positive, there's always a lesson to come from each experience. You know, you just gotta be thankful. Sometimes we may not know what it is right away, but later down the line, you know, as we expand and as we get a better feel and understanding for whatever the situation is, we see how it all was adding up, even though we couldn't understand it at the time. So it's always going to change. But that constant of thankfulness is what helps you. That constant of appreciation. I also want to say this. You see great people in their field, right? Whether it be art, music, technical art, to me, everything on this earth is art. You know, even mathematics. You know what I'm saying? It's art. Everything. Science. I feel like there's an artistic element in everything. But I say, you see, the greatest people spent the most time observing in that field, the nuances, the different ways things could go. But it just didn't stop there. They acknowledged it and they used it, but they kept the field open. They kept the possibilities open. They didn't close the door on themselves because they knew the only constant is change. Consistently changing consistently. The only constant is change, and that's okay, and that's all right. And I think when we understand that at a basis, you know, we'll find a way to put ourselves in a position where we can get the most out of life and benefit most from it. I say it's like this, but you know what I think makes life really hard is when you're trying to do something and you have a great understanding of how to get to, let me see, 2 or get to the number 9, and let's say you do 8 plus 1, it equals 9, right? Somebody else is doing 7 plus 2, and it equals 9, right? But I'm saying in those fields, both y'all right. It may get to a point where somebody will say, you know, you're doing it wrong, but they just haven't spent that time in that realm. You just gotta let things be. If they're trying to take the same route as you, you show them what they're going wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Or you show them how to better get to it, or you show what steps they need to take if they're trying to complete it in that form. But that's it. That's it. Besides that, and I remember I think one of my biggest problems was wanting to share what worked for me with everybody else, but I didn't take into consideration that everybody was like me. Everybody's unique, you know. Everybody got their own way. Shout out to Taylor. He told me that, you know, but that stuck with me, and I realized to appreciate people more for who they are rather than say, oh, okay, they ain't doing this well, you know, look down on them. That's no way to look at people. You know what I mean? We all humans. I'm not saying that, you know, I put people beneath me, but I didn't want to just think that and then my actions showed different. Or I didn't want to, you know, do right and then my thoughts were negative in that sense. Because in a way, it's almost like, who am I? You know what I mean? I had to restructure, rebalance myself. And I think ever since that moment, you know, I've just been able to appreciate life way more. And it's a good feeling. And sometimes, you know, I ask more of the question of, you know, how can I do something to help somebody appreciate life more than say, how can I get there? You know, when I approach life from that angle, when I approach the human experience from that angle, how can I help somebody who wants to experience it in a better way get there? But the first step is they gotta want to do it for themselves. A lot of people look for ways out, but the only way out is you. It's through you. You have to accept your way out. I think sometimes people, you know, get caught in the strong ultimatum of like, you know, only you can save you. Not saying that they're wrong, but finding a different way to communicate it, I would say you got to accept the way out. You have to choose. When you choose it, when it chooses you, and then it reveals to you because you asked for it, you have to accept it if you want it. Or else it ain't gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Unless the circumstance is like you have no other option. And sometimes that's what it boils down to. Some people just leave themselves no option. And that's okay. That's an experience too. That's a lesson too. That's a way, that's a pathway. You know what I mean? It's just seeing where you are. How does the eye pay respect to the hand? How does the hand pay homage to the eye? They don't try to become what they aren't. They pay homage by being the best they could be. And when everybody is being the best they can be, whether on a large scale or on a small scale, and everybody's able to acknowledge and appreciate something, it's almost like they figured out the key. And that's what it's about. It's just about appreciation. People think they gotta kill themselves to be great. No. You just have to. You just gotta see things for what they are. You know what I mean? That's the first step. That's the first step. But you will find that a lot of the great minds in history just had a really deep understanding of how life works. And they were able to, form a way to interpret that life within their word, that life experience within their word. Whether it be, they beat opponents, beat challenging opponents, or they solve like this complex, complicated question they just understood. And at the base of it all, it boils down to the same thing. Same thing. Monks in different cultures study this, the art of letting go, because they know how important it is. They know it's not necessary. Even though we make it about materials, and we make it about having things. It's not about having things. It's whether or not you have yourself. You have yourself, yourself, your God, your higher power, whichever name it go by. If you have and it's not even about having it, because we all have it. It's about whether or not you acknowledge it, and whether or not your choices, through your choices, I think that's what I was trying to articulate on. Whether or not you show that through your choices that you acknowledge that. And that to me is thankfulness. Just acknowledgement of, the Most High or God or your higher self through your choices and your actions. That's what's going to carry you. That's what you build off of. That's the foundation. We try to, any other thing is just a replication of that. You know what I mean? It's just a replication of that, man. And until you have that talk with yourself, as scary as people may make it seem, as scary as it may feel, it's needed. It's needed. Don't be afraid of yourself. Don't be afraid to challenge and question yourself, especially if you know you're not where you want to be in life. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be stuck for nobody, not yourself especially. Just be consistent with yourself before you do anything else. You gotta put God first, man. You gotta put the Most High first. However you interpret that, is your interpretation. But you gotta put it first. For some people, that reads as self. So to them, I say, put self first. You know what I mean? Because it all comes within, you know what I'm saying? For every human, regardless of what you believe or think, it all starts within first. It all starts within. Me personally, I believe that, we were given the ability to go as far and deep as we want with things. We were given freedom. We were given free will. And I'm just thankful because I realized that. And the more, you get to understand what self really is, the more you see that, it's not, the more sometimes we may tend to antagonize ourselves or, stray away from ourselves because we're unfamiliar on it. It's not because it's out to hurt us. It's there for us. It's there for us. When I think about the art of reflection, I think about how when you do something, it reflects back on you instantly. Equal opposite reaction. When you push on the door has to push on you back for it to open. Or else you're not pushing on the door. You feel me? The door is just floating, but the door can't float by itself. Energy can move through the door, but that's only if energy is present. So if you transferring your energy to move a door, you making it move. Me, I think, we are energy in a way. I think we are energy. And these bodies were given to us, but, when we pass, our body's gonna remain, but, even science says energy isn't created or destroyed, it just transfers. It just transfers. So, me, I'm energy speaking. I'm energy doing this. In the form of absentee. You know what I mean? We are the energy. We are energy. Enough, you are complete, you are a whole being. You know what I mean? We start out with ourselves, when we born, and that's why people look to children, and they see some of the most holistic things from children in their responses and how they move. And sometimes you'll see children teaching adults how to remember themselves. Or you'll see adults pulling examples from children on how to do it. Because that's the way we started. That's whenever you do an exercise or meditation and focus on bringing back yourself, sometimes they'll put that example and say, remember when you were a child. They don't just say that, to say, oh, like remember when you were younger, but, remember when you're in a form of purity. Remember when things came easy to you because things were simple and they didn't have to be hard. There weren't all these contracts, to block you. I mean, they were always there, and I just feel like as we move through life, we just found the ones that we decided to come in contact with through our actions, directly or indirectly, but so on and so forth. But then you realize, like, that's not an obstacle. It's not an obstacle till you call it an obstacle. It's not a problem till you call it a problem. Not necessarily saying that, it doesn't have to be for somebody to get better. But I'm saying, in that construct, according to your reality, that practice of acceptance of what things are will take you a long ways. But even then, you just have to accept, like how I'm speaking, and I'm speaking from my interpretation, about things that I think are objective. So is the next person, you know what I mean? But deep down, you will find, I will hope, that these things are universal. But like I said, it's all depends on the people. It all depends on the person who is interpreting. It's like music. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like seeing something. Like, did you see that? No, I didn't see that. I see a box. I see a cube. We got different angles. You heard that violin in the background, bro? All I can hear is the drums and the singer. We got different angles. We're dialed in. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know what I'm saying, that anybody's angle is better. It's just different. That's all. That is all. My 31 miles, my 30-something plus miles been up. Yes, sir. But it's all good, though. Alright. So that's what I'm going to do. In order to get back on my path, I'm going to go ahead and get us a rest. But I hope, as always, somebody was able to take from this. Enjoy your day. Know that you are the gatekeeper to your future. It starts with you. Be safe. Be blessed. Peace and love.